Hello there!
Hi, how are you?
Project Feel the Vibe is a third-person action game where music directly fuels combat. My name is Michael, and over the past 4 months, I built this project solo as a focused portfolio piece. Project Feel the Vibe follows Milo, a normal honor roll student who finds himself pulled into a hidden world of magic that exists beneath everyday life. The project was made in Unity 6 using Plastic SCM for version control. Documentation and task tracking were handled through Confluence and Jira. I used ChatGPT as a development assistant primarily for iteration, refactoring, and problem solving, but all system design, integration, and production decisions were my own. I've said before in previous videos that the goal wasn't to finish the entire game, but to create a playable, polished slice that demonstrates my skills in design, coding, and production. I want to clarify how I'm framing that goal now. The project isn't meant to showcase me as a programmer. It never was. It's meant to showcase my strengths in game design, systems implementation, and production, designing mechanics, defining rules, and making sure those systems work together in a playable experience. With that said, let's jump in. We'll start with the main menu, which is intentionally simple. There's a start game option, a level select with scenes created to test mechanics, a vertical slice mission, an options button that currently has no functionality, and a quit button to exit the application. I'll head into the test scene first so we can review the core mechanics. Here we have our player character. The model was created in Blender and imported into the project with textures for clothing and skin. The base character was created by following a GameDev.tv Blender course. Anything not covered, such as clothing, rigging adjustments, and animations, was learned through research, experimentation, and a fair amount of trial and error. You'll notice the character is bald. I ran into issues with hair earlier in development and ultimately decided not to scope that work in, given the time constraints. The character uses a finite state machine, allowing it to transition between states such as idle, move, jump, fall, and attack. The core mechanic of Project Feel the Vibe is the music system. Upon switching music moods, we change combat animations, energy depletion rate, attack speed, movement speed, damage values, and available ranged weapons. Chill is the default mode. If we switch to the hype stance, our energy will begin to deplete slowly over time. The benefits of this stance are increased movement speed and attack speed, along with an assault rifle that supports rapid fire combat. Energy depletes both from maintaining the stance and from using the ranged weapon. If you have no energy, you can't use the assault rifle. If we switch back to chill, energy will regenerate over time. The ranged weapon in this stance is a sniper rifle that delivers high damage at long range but has a slow fire rate. Firing the sniper also requires energy. Finally, we have the heavy stance. Energy depletes faster here than in the hype stance. In return, the player gains increased attack damage, armor breaking attacks, area of effect abilities, and strong knockback. The heavy stance uses a grenade launcher that applies AoE damage and knockback, and requires energy per shot. For the UI elements, I based the design on my early concepts. Thankfully, I'm not applying for a concept artist or UI designer position. The energy meter is represented as an audio level visualizer, reinforcing the idea that music is directly tied to combat and resource management. I didn't have time to fully experiment with alternative layouts that some people were interested in seeing, so this is the direction I committed to. The health bar is intentionally simple, and the UI is kept compact, making it easy to keep track of the current song, stance, energy, and health at a glance. The UI color shifts to match the active stance, and there's also a subtle screen tint to reinforce the current mood without pulling attention away from gameplay. Moving on, here we can see our enemies. I originally planned to create character models for them, but that would have significantly expanded the scope, so enemies remain as placeholder cubes. Despite that, they have health bars, can attack the player, take damage, and respawn if necessary. There are 3 enemy types here. We have the armored enemy, which can only be damaged effectively using the heavy stance. We have the flanker enemy, which constantly faces the player and can only be damaged from behind, requiring the speed and mobility of the hype stance. And we have the grunt enemy, which serves as basic fodder and helps the player regenerate energy while in the chill stance. Each enemy exists to reinforce a specific stance behavior rather than simply adding variety. Now I'll return to the main menu and start the intended gameplay loop. This is the hub scene, a block out of the player's headquarters. After completing missions, the player returns here. Missions are selected through the mission board, and as the game progresses, additional missions would be unlocked to advance the story. Interacting with the mission board opens a list of available missions. The implemented mission types include extermination missions, which require eliminating all enemies, and boss missions, which task the player with defeating a single high difficulty enemy with unique mechanics. From here, let's select the vertical slice mission. This mission was supposed to bring all of the elements together cohesively. However, during my 4 months, I was not able to get the pacing and flow exactly how I wanted. I'll still run through what we have. The setting is supposed to be an abandoned factory, but I only have placeholder blocks for buildings. My intention for the first puzzle was to introduce the ranged mechanics by creating a small puzzle. This generator here requires a certain amount of damage to be done within a certain amount of time. If the damage isn't fast enough, it'll reset. I also added a small event where the player has to shoot a sign to make a bridge. This set of generators needs to be hit simultaneously. If only 1 or 2 are hit, they will reset.
It's time to put it to rest. Is it stress? Is it that I ain't answer your text? Don't you treat it like amnesia? You know I always forget. Stirring the pot real hot. Didn't do anything.
And this final generator requires a long range in order to be hit. Once all the generators are active, the barrier that blocked the player turns green, allowing them through. My idea was to introduce each stance gradually, starting with chill. I wanted this whole section to be locked to the chill stance to get acquainted with it. I also wanted these introduction sections to have unlimited energy, but I didn't get to add that. I was thinking there could be a narrative beat where, since this is Milo's first mission, he's too excited to show what he can do and doesn't pay any mind to his energy. So in this first section, he's chill and feeling out the mission. This next section introduces the hype stance. The flanker enemies always face the player and can only be damaged from behind, and I also added a platform that requires increased movement speed in order to jump across. The narrative beat here being something like, okay, it's time to pick it up a little, or let's get into the rhythm. I wanted to create an ability system that lets the player breakdance to deal AoE damage in the hype stance, but it wasn't implemented in this project during any of the sprints. This area would have reflected that, but in hindsight, I would just make it the introduction to the heavy stance. But as for now, this is still the hype section. Here is where the heavy stance is introduced. I was going to include an obstacle that required the grenade launcher, but I didn't decide whether I still wanted to do that or not. Other than that, we just run through here using our heavy stance. Ideally, we would have unlimited energy, with the narrative beat being something like, "Okay, it's time to get a little serious now." And this would be the final stretch, where the player now has to juggle between stances. Of course, if I were to do things differently, I would have introduced the heavy stance a bit sooner. This level was also intended to transition directly into the boss mission, but I wasn't able to implement that handoff within the time frame. Completing the mission returns the player to HQ. If the player's health reaches 0, the mission fails, with options to retry or return to HQ. If we head back to HQ, we can accept the boss mission. The boss combines all 3 enemy behaviors into a single encounter. Narratively, it's an amalgamation of monsters. Mechanically, it's designed to test full mastery of stance switching. The boss has a shield that can only be broken using the heavy stance. Once the shield breaks, the boss is stunned for 5 seconds, exposing a weak spot that requires hype movement to exploit. Failing the fight gives the option to retry or return to HQ. Defeating the boss completes the mission loop. That covers the current state of Project Feel the Vibe. While this isn't a finished game, it represents a complete vertical slice built over 4 months, demonstrating my ability to design systems, implement mechanics, manage scope, and deliver a playable experience as a solo developer. Thanks for taking the time to check it out. I'm Michael, and as always, I don't just dress to impress, I dress my games to stun. I'll see you in the next video.